Hello and welcome to the first episode of Metal Massacre Fab Shop. My name is Matt Harvey, and basically this channel is going to be covering just a wide variety of different things that I'm going to be doing in the shop as far as like custom vehicles such as my 64 C10 behind me. So hopefully you guys will tag along on this episode because I'm going to be installing this American Autowire wiring system and more or less just showing you how I did it versus tech tip. So don't get too hung up on stuff if I don't do it correctly, because I'm definitely not a wiring guru, as I mentioned 100 times in this video. So yep, let's get with it. Alrighty, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to install these 3/8 fasteners that go in your factory style fender mounts, which I'm going to go ahead and install because I'm not running any factory inner fenders due to this truck being bagged. So I'm going to get both of these installed really quick, and then I'll shoot you on the inside and show you how it all mounts up from the inside. Two bolts through here, you're gonna have a washer and then two nuts for a spacer. So we're gonna install all that on both of these studs right now, and then after that we'll be able to mount up our fuse box. Alrighty, now after getting those studs in, we're gonna be installing our fuse box, which I realize I haven't really done like an overview on much of this stuff, but basically it is just it's all individually labeled. So you get a lamp kit here, your front lights. I mean, it's a really good kit, and if you're electronically challenged like myself, I would highly recommend purchasing something like this, because it does come with all of your factory connectors and stuff, which are gonna in turn, you know, plug right into your factory stuff on your gauge cluster here. So that's what I went for. You can get like the generic 18 circuit stuff and wire all this in yourself and everything like that. And then if that's what you're into and you're gifted enough to do that, I highly recommend doing that, because it'd be a heck of a lot cheaper. But this kit here is, like it says on the box over here, for 60 to 66 Chevy trucks. I'm pretty sure that would be the part number there. I'll also drop it down below in the description. But now that I've got everything situated with these two studs here, I'm gonna go ahead and mount this thing on the inside. Alrighty, so we have our fuse box here, and we're gonna just basically bend these wires over and put it up here, and voila. So you've got all your wires here, which, don't get me wrong, like, I am definitely not an electrician, so this is like kind of scary to me too. But I feel like this kit is pretty, you know, user friendly. I'm definitely not an electrician. Don't claim to be, don't really want to be. So I think if I can get this figured out, I'm pretty positive anybody can. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to, of course, fasten this to the firewall, and then I've got to get my factory cluster, and I would like to separate it and clean the inside of it up. Alrighty, so I've got the factory cluster here all cleaned up and everything, so I'm gonna hop back over here and start wiring up some stuff. Alrighty, so I have started hooking everything up here. There's just a couple different things here that I've been wiring, just kind of knocking out, like this ignition switch, got it hooked up, and then light switch, just different little things like that that I know for sure what it goes to. I've also got my wiper motor hooked up, and underneath here I've got my brake switch wired, dome light, just a couple different things. I mean, some of this stuff is pretty simple and self-explanatory, but there's great instructions and great schematics on all this stuff. And like you guys seen, just kind of refreshed on the old gauge cluster here. Eventually, I think I'm gonna go up to a Dakota Digital, which I just think they look really cool. So, but for now, I'm gonna keep it cheap, budget friendly, and go back with the factory unit here. So this plugs directly back into the rear of that. So I'm just gonna continue going through here and buttoning these wires up. So we are in here right now doing a little bit more wiring, and I am not gonna lie to you, it got real really quick. Like the dash cluster wiring kind of got pretty crazy. So basically what we're doing right now is we're pulling from these three harnesses, or I guess three connectors, and basically pulling wires to connect to the back of our gauge cluster here. So we've got our, I can't remember what this was, but we've got it wired up nonetheless. So
water temp.
Water temp. But basically we're going to continue on with all this stuff. We got to wire in all of our dash lights and all that good stuff. So we'll catch you up here in a minute once all that's done. Alrighty, so we have eliminated all of the factory wiring that goes on the back of your gauge cluster here. The kit replaces all this stuff with all of this new stuff here. And basically you just go through here and start fastening stuff. And I'll pull one of these apart here in just a second. Let me see. Okay, so basically what you do is you have a little connector here. See if it'll focus. But it's just a little crimp joint there, and then this slides right up on top of that, and then you put your factory bulb down inside that. So we did all that and got all these connectors good to go. Also, they send factory stuff here to plug into like your gas gauge and all that good stuff. So it wasn't as painless as we had made it out to be, maybe. So you've got this great schematic and layout. It gives you like step-by-step processes and all that good stuff. So don't be scared of it. Just you got to get in there and get after it and get it done. It isn't too bad. So we're probably going to end up ordering some LED bulbs just to kind of update on this old technology. But basically all that is done, so we're going to try to get this gauge cluster in here before long. Layla did most of the crimping and stuff, so if anything fails, we will blame it all on her. Alrighty, so everything is basically done with the gauge cluster wiring. Everything's wired up and stuff. I've still got to get the ground on there and all that good stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. But first, I went ahead and ordered up a bunch of these new LED style bulbs for this gauge cluster, because some of these old bulbs were just looking pretty rough. So basically they just go in just like the old ones. I'll get a close-up here after I install this, but they just go straight in here and you just give them a twist and they replace the old ones here. So I'll get you over here and get a close-up real quick on that so you can see what I'm talking about. Alrighty, so the gauge cluster is now back in on the truck. Went ahead and installed the ignition here, the ignition switch on the truck, but as you can tell it doesn't do anything. But I've got a couple other holes here that are not going to be utilized. I've got my lights over here. I've got to figure out a couple different things like wiper switches and stuff like that. Got to figure all that out because this truck was pretty bare whenever I got it, so it didn't really have much of anything. So gonna figure out these holes, and I may end up using some of these holes for something else, for like, I don't know, say, you know, air compressors or something like that for the air management. But anyway, gauge cluster's in. I got wires tucked. Now I'm gonna move up and start hooking up all the engine and stuff like that. And yep, let's get up there to the front and get everything going engine wise. Alrighty, so I have most of my stuff pulled through the firewall back here. I'll show you on the inside where I ran that in. But basically the engine wiring is going to be this here. So just got done hooking up the alternator, the brown wire coming out of the kit, which you can see right there. It's just running up here and through the intake. But basically now I've got to get power wires. Also, I did go ahead and stab in the HEI. Sorry, it's focusing on my finger. But the HEI ignition coil, the power, the 12 volt power for that, got that stabbed in also. But basically the green wire, it's going to be water temp sender down here. So I've got that in there. That actually came with my electric fan kit, so that is not supplied with the American Autowire kit. But basically I guess you can pick those up just about anywhere. But yeah, so we're going to continue on getting this schematic all figured out and get everything ran. Also, they give you this cool little like bus bar fuse thing here, but basically I'll show you over here how that works. It's going to be for your alternator and starter power and all that stuff and all that good stuff. So I'm going to find a place to mount that and hopefully get everything wired up to where this thing will be getting close to being ready to turn over. But I'm gonna run inside here real quick. Alrighty, so as you can see, I just cut a little hole right here for all the harness wires, which is right here. I've just got them kind of wrapped up because they come pretty long. But essentially all this stuff is going to go through the dash there, and then I'm going to go ahead and tidy all this up. I just left it a little long outside of the harness just so I didn't cut myself short out there. But basically everything up here is going to end up being all tidied up and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm going to get to hopefully connecting some of this stuff. Alrighty, so I've got the engine wired up here. Basically your brown wire from your harness comes out here to this alternator, and then you run a positive back down, and then I chose to mount my, I don't know, distribution block or fuse block, I don't know. I'll get you underneath there here in a minute and show you, but basically it goes down and connects into that block that I was telling you about. Then of course on the other side here, there's a little pink wire that comes off your harness, and that goes right into the HEI side, because that's what I'm running. I'm not running the factory points anymore. Also got my water temp sensor right there, and then there is a purple wire going to the solenoid side of the starter. So I'll jump down here and show you guys some of the starter wiring, and hopefully you'll get a better idea of that. Alrighty, so this is the wiring that I was talking about. Basically you've got a 12 volt lead coming from the harness that goes right here. This wire here is the one that I was telling you about that comes down from the alternator, and then this is the main power coming out of the block going to your starter side. Also, this wire right here is coming directly from the battery, and I know this is kind of hard to see, but it goes all the way back to, and it connects into the positive side on the battery. So basically that in a nutshell is what I got going on here. So there is covers that go onto this. Basically this little bus bar connects both circuits. So you got these 175 amp fuses that tie everything together and all that good stuff. I chose to put it down here just for a cleaner look, and that's what I did. But basically I've got some of this tape here around my transmission lines. It's not really tape, I guess it's like a heat protective, but I also got it around the two power wires coming down just because this header's riding so close. But this is away from the header pretty good. I know it looks pretty close on the video, but everything is pretty good. I'm probably going to pull it on this side and run a little wire tie through that little eye right there just to keep it even farther away. But I've got everything ran through the firewall right there from the harness. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of clean all this up and try to button everything back up. I'm going to pull my gauge cluster back out and tidy up some of the wires inside there, just because I just want this thing to look as clean as possible. But after I get that done, we're going to start on the taillight harness. So, like I said in the last little clip, got everything kind of tidied up here, but well, actually I've got the rear tail lights wired now, so they're going to come off that connector there. Going to come down through here, and there's a little existing hole. On my truck there was like a valve or something that the farmer had used, maybe for a dump bed or whatever, but basically snake that through here. Got a little grommet. I'm gonna have to fill these two holes in with something, but there's actually a grommet that comes with the kit that I didn't know, but I'm gonna end up using that instead of that because the holes are not quite as big. But basically I've got these two wires right here tied up. I think the green is for I think reverse lights, which this is 64, so it didn't come with reverse lights. And then the blue there is for third brake light, which I currently do not have either. So basically that goes through there, comes up on the back side here, and this is all just temporary. I'm gonna loom everything, but got it running back here, and it kind of splits off back here to your two tail lights. Also got the fuel gauge going on. It's working, everything, but basically you can see here, that's kind of your wiring schematics on this, and it just goes out to your two different tail lights here. And as you can tell, I got the tail light buckets in here now, and everything's working good. So going to move on to the front lights now. Alright, quick little clip here, just playing around, but you can see the turn signal's working there. I got it all hooked up and everything. And if I bring you back here, you can see the turn signal's working, so the hard work's paying off. Also, the gas gauge is working, so that's pretty good stuff. You can see that over there. I don't know if that was like a little business card holder or what the old farmer had in this truck, but that might have to go, but it's kind of cool too. Alright, back to the front light. Alrighty, so I went ahead and started on this front headlight unit here. So basically the kit comes with an electric choke, which my carburetor does not have, and also there's a horn relay pinned right here, which I'm not going to be using a factory horn. Eventually I'm thinking about doing like a little quiet air horn or something like that, running off the air management setup. So I went ahead and depinned the horn, which is your E here, and that left us with these three wires coming off the harness here. So it's going to be low beam, high beam, and then fan, because like I said, I've got this dual electric fan kit here on this carburetor, so on this radiator. Oh, it's been a long week, but anyway, I just pulled this factory light out here and everything. So there's your factory wiring and everything, which I'm sure, like that kit has done the rest of the time, it's going to replace all that. So basically I've got this factory light out, and I've got these old screws here for this bucket. I've got them soaking down with some curl oil there. But my buddy on Instagram, he was nice enough to give me some of these Harley lights and also some lenses for the hood here, because as you can tell, there's a vacancy. So basically these Harley lights are just kind of a plug and play update, and they look pretty cool in there too. And he says that he's used them on a couple C10s and stuff, so Go check him out on Instagram also. He's got some pretty cool rides, but Crazy Customs is his name. But basically, these Harley Davidson lights are going to take the place of the old like halogen styles that were in these trucks. So hopefully it'll be a little bit brighter, but not too crazy looking. Like they don't, some of those LEDs and stuff that you get, they look pretty out of place on these old trucks, but there's not much of a difference. So that's the plan. I'm gonna go upgrade to these lights and start running wires and stuff in this grill shell here. Hopefully all these bolts and all that good stuff on these headlights come out good, because I'm kind of really worried about breaking something, but I'm sure they make replacements on all these adjusters and all that good stuff. So enough rambling again. I'm gonna get to wiring. Alright, so headlights are wired now. Everything is all done. Just one little tip that I did that you may be able to do on your truck is I actually took this factory ground, which is on the back side of the grill shell normally, and because mine is patinaed and pretty nasty, I didn't end up I can't get my grill off without maybe breaking something. I just didn't want to take the chances of getting that thing taken off the truck, so I did put my ground on the outside of the grill shell instead of behind the bucket, so it kind of made it easier too, just as far as getting up in here. So but basically we got our plug wired here, then they got the ground wire here, and then you got your radiator support plug goes right there. And then I ended up tucking everything under the frame rail back into a little 3/8 grommet, and then that goes inside the truck over to the main harness. So this wire here is for the electric fans, so that's probably going to be the next project, but for now I'm gonna stab these new headlights in hopefully and then see if they work. Alright, so headlights are back in. Big T's over here helping. So basically we got these on, and I didn't end up installing my dimmer switch in the floor. I think I'm gonna eventually do something different, because it was pretty rotten down there in the floor, so that wouldn't really go in there. But as you can see, bright right now, back to dim, and bright again. So basically I'm gonna find somewhere to mount this. Kind of thinking about maybe making some kind of switch off this and making that where you can just kind of touch that. So just a different thing. Hell, I may even get this old horn button to be the dimmer switch. Who knows? But yep. So moving on to the fan wiring at this moment. So the truck is pretty much 100% wired. A lot of the stuff still needs loomed and stuff like that. So obviously I'm going to go back and tidy up all that stuff. And there's a couple things like the wipers I didn't mess with yet, because I actually don't even have them. Sorry, I thought somebody was knocking on the door. I don't know what that was. But I don't have the wipers, so I do not have any of that hooked up yet. Radio is not hooked up, just little things like that. I'm just going to skip over the winter. I'll get around to getting that. So kind of the moment of truth, and we'll see if we can't fire this thing up and back it out of here. Alrighty, so that is going to wrap this video up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the first video. The truck is on the road and moving, as you can see. Me and Layla, we drove it back here at my, it's just right down the shop here, but I always like to come back here with vehicles and get pictures because it's pretty cool, especially fall of the year. But yeah, the old truck's looking pretty good and everything is functioning well, it seems. I may have to look at the transmission line. It does look like there's a small leak on that, so it's just, I mean, with a brand new project you're gonna have stuff go on. So anyway, basically the truck is completely roadworthy ish. So yeah, I'm gonna probably move on to another project. Hopefully I'll be making a video onto that here before long, and you guys will be able to check that out. But hopefully you enjoyed this one, and hopefully you'll come back and hang out for the next one. See you guys.